This video serves to answer some questions and address some key points raised by farmers seeking farmland to own or lease. Here is some real-life experience for those hoping to farm and looking for practical advice before getting started.
I guess draft I gave them covered most of, it covered the main points, this is how much I'm looking to lease, this is how much we're gonna pay for it, this is what happens if, this is my timetable that I want to have the lease land for, and then we got the termination clauses was really big to them and myself. It's got to be there, and you got to have it written down so that no one. The last thing I want to do is have it devolve into some big mess where we're not on speaking terms and we're bringing lawyers into it. That's the last thing I want to do. So it was a really good process. Wolf's lease covered everything. He went over all the details of it with me. His vocabulary is far greater than mine.
He's also had more experience.
Tons more experience. Yeah. But yeah, it was great. You know, we kicked it back and forth a couple times, and I think it took us about a month and a half to get it signed. But
having a mediator through this whole thing was perfect. I know the people that we rented off of, it made them feel more comfortable, and it made me feel more comfortable too. I mean, and we've got a good relationship with them now. But
because of the contracts and everything was right up front, laid out on the table. There's really nothing left that is up in the air at all. So it's nice to be everybody's on the same page.
So I know that I don't want to go to a bank and take out a huge loan for land that I may not know how to manage well, and so by leasing land, especially as a young farmer with very little capital, that lease land is incredibly cheap. It's especially in western North Carolina, it's a leaser's market for sure because land prices are absurd. You're talking about 500 acres or $500 to manage a piece of land or to work with a piece of land for an entire year. That frees up so much capital for me to put into product that appreciates. Instead of having 1 acre of ground that I paid $3,000 for, I've got
or 10,000 or 15,000.
Yeah. I don't even know I haven't even begun to look at how expensive land is. I'm clueless. But I know that $3,000 will buy me a whole lot of pigs that will grow out in a year's time and produce a nice return. So it's all about finding ways to you invest in things that appreciate. You don't invest in things that depreciate. You want, because when it boils down to it, you've got to make money, or else what are you doing?
And realizing it's a lot more difficult than I think we originally thought. That you have to have good credit, and you have to have a certain amount of money in the bank to make a down payment, and they're not going to lend to you even if you've had lots of farming experience. A bank doesn't care because that doesn't usually pay money. On top of all of that, you can't farm until you have at least some basic equipment, and even just working on farms, starting to ask, oh, how much is that? How much is that? And being like, oh, wow, tillers are $5,000. The cheap walk-behind tillers are $5,000. And so it's just all those little things, even going to, the store and seeing wow, this hoe is $75. And it's these little things that really add up. And there are awesome loans out there that people have taken advantage of, but I'm just really scared of going into a lot of debt in a job that isn't going to pay off a lot. And so I think that's been challenging for us, kind of accepting that. And I think that's definitely contributed to our vision changing a little too, and being well, the reality is we're probably never going to make a ton of money farming.
Most jobs, you get an internship and then that feeds you into your career. So it was tough for us because we had left salary jobs because we felt like our farming skills were decreasing, and we didn't want that to happen. So we, started working on the farm, and, on paper it looks like peanuts. So like the mortgage officer we talked to just straight up was like, no way. And that's why finding y'all at FarmLink was so like hope giving, because we hadn't realized that there was a third choice.
I think doing your homework and like kind of letting go of the fantasy a little bit and just being like crunching numbers is, I feel like we had this like really dreamy idea of farming. And even like I had farmed like hardcore, not sleeping, working nonstop farms, and still loved it, but didn't realize the number side of things as much. And so, I think the best thing you can do is, first of all, work on a few farms, and then ask them for their numbers and see how things add up for yourself too, in your area and your demographic, and kind of seeing like, does this make sense at all? Because I think sometimes the answer is no, and then it's like, it doesn't mean farming's not for you, but it's like finding your niche and finding your path within that world, and that could change a lot just based on what's available and what your financial situation is.
Though the road to finding land to farm can be challenging, WNC FarmLink is here to help. At FarmLink, we carefully review our database of landowners and farmers to ensure an appropriate and lasting match is made through a vetting process. We also offer a variety of support services throughout the land matching process, which includes everything from farm financing to lease arrangements. Thank you for watching, and please do get in touch with us at wncfarmlink.org if you would like to become involved.
I'm sorry, there's like 2 bunnies over there. They're so cute.
Look at that soil. Just like granite. And it smells really good. Yeah, this is some good ground. And there's not nearly as many rocks in western North Carolina as there are in the Ozarks. So digging holes is no problem at all.